host Naseem Ullah Bhutta, and today we are honored to have Professor Kirk Hazlett once again with us. He is now enjoying retirement after you can say the wonderful career in public relations and education, having made lasting impact at multiple universities. Professor Hazlett, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to sharing experiences, ideas, and advice.
Wonderful. Professor Hazlitt, you wore so many hats over the years. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are beyond your professional life?
My professional, well, I'll start at the beginning, and I thought that I wanted to be a college professor teaching literature. So I got a degree in English, and I graduated from college in 1968, and there was something going on called the Vietnam War. And I wound up in Vietnam teaching English as a second language for the Air Force. I joined the United States Air Force. And this is where things started. The first year I taught English, I came back for a second year, and my commander asked me to do some more things, not teaching, but more management things. So I decided maybe I should get a management degree. But I did. I started pursuing a management degree, had to needed to take an elective course, and I wanted the easiest thing I could find. And there was this course called Introduction to Public Relations. And I read the description, and I said, this is it. I can do this one. Then I read the book, and I said, oh my goodness, that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years in the Air Force. I just didn't know that it was public relations. So made a complete change in my career focus. Finished my term with the Air Force. I was in the Air Force for 8 years, and found a job internship, paid internship with the United States Army, public affairs, public relations. And that's where my career started. The Army gave me the training in public relations and gave me my first job assignment. And from then on, I was having a wonderful time doing what I love doing. Well, after a few years of working for the Army, I said, okay, military is enough for me. I want to try the private sector. So looked around. This was 1984. And in Massachusetts, where I lived at the time, technology was a hot thing. And there was a technology company about 4 miles from where I lived that needed a public relations person. I applied, they hired me, and I discovered within about 2 weeks that I don't like technology. So I say all that because I share this with my students, says you never really know, and you need to figure it out. So I left that company and went to a nonprofit organization, and that's where I made the rest of my career. It was in nonprofit work, services, helping other people and organizations doing things, doing public relations. Had a wonderful time. It was the happiest part of my whole life, I guess. But then I wound up, I started saying, well, do I really want to continue that? I wasn't able to find another higher job that sounded interesting. But started just, what do I do? Where do I go? Sort of like Alice in Wonderland. Which fork in the road should I take? And things happen, and this is a result of networking, something else that I talk about a lot. A friend called me from a university in Boston. She said, you're always over here talking to our students about public relations. Would you be interested in teaching public relations? So I went over for an interview. They hired me that day. And that was where I got started. And this was a graduate level public relations course that I was teaching. I was home about 2 days later. My telephone rang again. And it was a friend from another university. Would you be interested in teaching for us? Why not? So I wound up teaching one graduate course, one undergraduate course, and that's where it started. As soon as I got into the classroom, I was like, I'm home now. Because now I can, and I'll wrap it up here. What I can do in the classroom is I don't teach the textbook. You read the textbook so you have an idea of what the words are. I teach real life experiences. If we're going to talk about community relations, I'm going to tell you stories about community, things that I did, so that you see how it works. And then I push, encourage, demand that my students do internships so that they can get an idea where they really would like to go. Everything sounds exciting when you're in college. But as I found out myself, technology, it sounds exciting, and I love the people who work in technology. It's not for me. So you do an internship in a company, do an internship in a nonprofit organization, do an internship in a public relations firm. Which one of those feels best for you? So that's where I am today, is now I'm sort of retired, but still part-time teaching for University of Tampa and staying in touch with students current and past. I'm here for advice. Got a question? Kurt's here. Ask the questions. So, long story short, it's been a lot of fun. Don't regret anything that I've done here. Some things I wish I had done better. And we're just wondering what the next day is going to bring.
Your experience is unpurchasable, and you done great. You can say wonderful things. But just you started, you can say that doing different things, but later on you find out that's what is best for you. But you can say that in my area, the students are wondering what the career they have to adopt in their early life, because after you grade 12, they have to choose one university for their professional life. And if you give some advice to the students how to choose their career at the very beginning, uh, they may not have such kind of opportunities. Just you have to find out what was your best choice, what you should be at. Just like you were talking about the public relation, you share your real life experience. You do not teach words from the book, but you teach the realities of the life. But this, how can students can manage to have the real path what they have to choose at the very beginning of their life?
You're saying how can students
Yes.
find one thing it's first thing and first and foremost is that I don't encourage, I push my students. I say you must go to, and is put yourself out there, meet people, go to, and I said say this one thing I encourage students to do is go to professional. I belong to the Public Relations Society of America. We have local chapters in most of the big cities, and wherever I encourage them to go, listen to other professionals talking, network, meet people, get to know them, ask questions. Um, and sometimes, and I've got one other quick story to tell here, is I took a group one time of students, the presidents of 3 public relations firms. Were talking about what they expected from their employees. Here's what we do. Here's what I expect you to be doing. We were leaving, and one of my students who had taken every course that I ever offered came over. She said, I need to talk to you. Okay, what? I don't think I want to do this public relations stuff anymore. Okay, what are you interested in? She said, well, my major is communication, public relations. My minor is social work. I love social work. Good for you. Change your major, focus on social work, and let's see where you go. We're talking now about 10 years later. She is a very senior member of a large hospital in Boston. doing social work, what she loves doing. So yeah, you may think that Kirk wants you, demands that you go into public relations. No, talk to people, find out what they want, what they're looking for, and see if it feels good for you. If it feels good in your heart, then do it. But don't be afraid to ask questions. You really, really have to get out and ask the questions to make sure that you're heading down the right path.
Yes, that's great. Any aspirant must ask some questions so that he can find the right way to which he wants to adopt in his future life. That's a great thing.
Absolutely.
That's great. As you were known for having open door policy with the, you can say, the reporters early on. How did that help build trust?
Thank you. That's a very good question. And it's something that, once again, I emphasize. So it's, the old saying, seeing is believing.
Yes.
And this is the one, when reporters would call me, sure, I couldn't give them the answer, but I would tell them, I won't tell you what I'm doing. Come down here, I'll show you what I'm doing. And so when they see that, and they see that I am willing to tell them what they want to know. Obviously, there are going to be some things that I can't go down that path because of confidentiality or whatever it may be, but I am more than happy to welcome you into my organization and introduce you to the key players so that you can see what we do, why we do it, and why we're proud of what we're doing. But it encourages people to reach out. And it works even to today. Although I'm not active in public relations, I have hundreds of reporter friends all over the world who will occasionally reach out and say, "Hey, Kirk, what do you think about this?" But it's that being the welcoming part is my door is open. Come on in.
Yes. That's a great thing. You always welcome them to reach out to you and want to get something from you. It's a wonderful thing. What advice would you give to students about staying open and accessible in their careers?
That's another something that is very, very important. Be I encourage them to to explore. And as I said earlier, and I say many, many, many times, even to the point of trying different things. If you really think you want to go into this profession, whatever it may be, we'll say public relations, it could be radio broadcasting. Try it. But try different ones. Try different kinds of organizations so that you can find what feels best to you. And this is again, one last story here. When I when I finished with college, initially when I first went to college, I thought I wanted to be an engineer. I thought I wanted to build highways and bridges because I had worked for 3 summers for the state highway department in Georgia where I lived, and I loved it. I was very good at it. I discovered as soon as I took my first engineering course that I really don't like engineering. So the literature, I switched to that because I love literature, and I went to my advisor and said, what should I do? This isn't working, obviously. And my advisor told me, well, you are very good at writing in the literature. Why don't you focus on that? So the idea is to not just say, well, I want to do this and I'm not going to change my mind ever. No, be open, listen to people and try it. Give it a try. Maybe it doesn't feel good, it doesn't work here, but at least you can say, I tried it and it did not work. But I tried this and I'm the happiest person in this world.
That's great. Then there is a solid reason when we adopt something, you can say the different. Okay, we should try, and if it doesn't work, we should go for the next one. That's a great thing. And one more question: honesty is the crucial in PR. Can you share time when being honest was tough, but the right choice? But that was the right choice.
It was, I can think, and I'll sort of talk around. I won't say exactly what the organization was. I worked for an organization that we had a very serious public thing that was happening for us, and we had done what we thought was the right things, but we also had not done one thing that we should have done. And I knew that if we did not be open and honest with the media specifically, but also with our supporters, that this was going to hurt us and haunt us for the rest of our lives. So I met with our board of directors and my president, and I said, here's what we need to do. Here's what we need to say. And I went so far as to have our attorney, our lawyer, look at the wording to make sure that it was good, and said, this is what we need to be saying to the media when they ask the question. And fortunately, they agreed. They said, yes, this makes sense. What happened was when the incident became public, the media turned to me and said, they would call me and say, Kirk, this is what I am going to say tonight. Does that sound okay to you? How nice is it when you have a reporter saying, this is what I'm going to be saying about you tonight? But what I immediately, to follow up on that, we had statewide, every one of the media channels covered the event. That evening, I did a survey of the public. I hired an agency to do an opinion survey. In spite of what could have been a very negative report, the mood of the public was, we understand what you did. We understand why you did it. You have not changed our positive opinion of you, and we will continue to support you. But again, it was making sure that all of my senior people knew what I was going to be talking about, but then being forthright, being honest with the reporters. And it worked. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd do exactly the same thing.
Right. Thank you. And what excites you and worries you about new technologies in PR like AI? It's working. You can say that can manipulate the things.
That's I was talking to someone this morning actually about that. What excites me is the opportunities, the many opportunities that are now available to us for communicating. And AI is nice. Don't become too reliant on AI. Don't forget that you have your own brain and you can actually use it. But other technologies, one of the things is the ability to communicate immediately is increasing day by day. I think about back when I started in public relations, the way that you communicated was a telephone where you dialed a number and you talked to the person. And so it was either that or that person would come to your office to talk to you. Today, we have so many different platforms that we can use to communicate, which is a good thing. The bad news is that when something happens, somebody else on the other side of the world is going to know what happened, and you have to be prepared for it. But AI helps you in the sense of it helps you to organize, to formulate your ideas and your responses, and to get a message that is understandable to the world. But just be careful. Don't be overly reliant on technology to tell your story. There's still the human aspect of it that builds the credibility, builds the trust.
Yes. AI and other technologies can assist human beings, but they should not be you can completely reliable. We should not trust you can say 100% over these technologies. The
Absolutely.
criterion there must be the human beings. Okay, that's right. That's great. And how do you encourage the future PR professionals to prioritize integrity even when it is challenging?
I, I want to say that I do it by showing it. I encourage them to know that your one of your strengths is the respect that others have for you. And if someone thinks, perceives that you've been sneaky about this, they're never going to trust you again. There's always going to be this doubt. Be be honest, but know what in your heart what you believe in. And sort of this is my take on this thing. I will not work for an organization that I do not respect, whose operations I do not think are open and honest. But it's I tell them this, you have to be proud and show that you're proud of what you're doing, because others will see that and they will know that what you're telling them is coming from the heart and not from a piece of paper that you're holding in your hand.
That's great. As a faculty advisor, what classroom exercise do students still remember for its impact on ethical decision making?
It's, I think I use really the most current things, so they've evolved over the years here. But I literally use examples that have been in the news within the last 24 to 48 hours, and which means that Kirk watches a lot of television just to see what's going on in the news. But I I I, I make it a point for them to think about it, and it's not just what happened, but what would you do if you were in this same situation? And I remember one wonderful example way back. I gave the assignment to the students. Here's an event that took place here. What would you do? Give me your response tomorrow when we meet in class. I left the classroom. I walked across to my office. It took me 5 minutes to walk to my office. I already had an email from a student. It's not in the book. I don't know what to do. But this is what I do here is once again is it's not just what does the book say, but what would you do? Here is a situation. How would you, the individual, deal with this? And there is no right answer. There is a professional answer. So it doesn't, you tell me what you would do. And the students, they really, really enjoyed that because it made them think. It made them go outside the book and start saying, hmm, I know that it says this and it says this. How does this work? So I've been doing that now for forever, I think, from the very, very first class that I taught. And it always it sort of inspires some really lively conversation. And I like to think that they walk out going, okay, I understand now what we're talking about. Ethics and integrity are non negotiable. They are something that we have to not just believe, but show.
Right. You make their, you can say, them to think out of the box and put into practice their own, but you don't rely what is written in the books, and don't be so professional, be a human being and start with something new. uh, they make them, you can say, that think that can work for them. That's a great thing. And how did you tailor your teaching methods to reach both analytical minded and creative oriented students? There may be, you can say, different types of the students in your class. How can you can reach out to the students who are analytical bent of mind, and then there are you can say creative bent of mind? How you reach out to them?
Once again, it's using the real life examples that for which you can't look in the textbook and find the answer. You have to think in your head here. And it really encourages them to use the information that they've read, use the information that they've heard during lectures and everything else, but then turning to their own abilities. What would they do? How would they deal with a situation? What would they say? And I ask both parts of it. I say, how would you deal with it? Give me the specifics, and then tell me what you would say. Give me your 60-second response to the question. So they're having to juggle the balls here and
Mhm.
really think about how they're going to satisfy the reporters. The bottom line here, we're talking about dealing with the media most of the time. Sometimes it's also dealing with your boss, but if we're talking about public relations, a lot of time media. But the students like it because just for that reason, they're able to apply their own talents. And they come, I've seen on occasion some really amazing ideas that I think, wow, I could use that.
Right. If you look back, what new skills or insights proved most valuable in your career, and how can today's practitioners cultivate the same mindset?
I think here, and I've been thinking about that question a little bit, and it's going to sound very, very sort of basic here, but it's just staying current with what is being done. How are we communicating today? Because this is very much about communication. And so, as I say, and I've dealt with a few faculty friends who really do not like social media because they say, well, I have to spend too much time answering people's questions. Well, that's what it's for. I what I try to do is to stay current. Now, I have not mastered Chat GPT yet, and I don't intend to anytime soon. But just knowing the avenues that are available to me to communicate, to pass on my message to others, and you really have to sort of stay take courses. I i will take an online course just to learn something new or to refresh my memory on something that is going on. But it's just, you can't just say, oh, well, I earned my degree 50 years ago. I don't need to do anything else. Yes, you do, because the world has changed a lot.
Okay, we have two more questions before you can say we wrap up our session. If our listeners remember just one principle about PR ethics, what should it be and why?
I think it's the old saying that I remember from a child here: honesty is the best policy. And that's what ethics is truly. That's what it's all about, is telling the truth, telling it as quickly as possible, and being open to follow-up questions. But it's just, it's again, it's a non-negotiable aspect of our business here. Ethics is open, honest communication.
Right. Where can students and the professionals find your latest work or connect with you? From the globe, if someone wants to, especially I would talk about my Pakistani students, if they want to connect with you, from where you can connect you and get advice from you.
They can absolutely happy to connect. What I would like for students to do if they reach out is to tell me why they're connected. Don't just send me a note and say, I want to connect,
Yes.
because I don't know who you are.
Okay.
But
Yes.
if you say, I heard your conversation, and I would be interested in learning more, I am open to this. Now, I'm going to go down this road for just a little bit here. Please, 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 please don't ask me to connect with you when you have a locked profile on your Facebook page, because I want to know who you are so that I know who I'm talking to. So once again, it sounds sort of selfish, but it's I'm open and available, and love to. You can do this on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Pick the platform. I'm on most of them. Blue Sky, um, and let's start the conversation. I'm happy to chat. I'm happy to share advice, share ideas, and just listen. If you've got a question and just want to hear what somebody else thinks, that's what I'm here for.
Right. Professor Hazlett, thank you for your time, your wisdom, and your lifelong dedication to ethical communication. You haven't only shaped your field, you have shaped minds. And if my audience have some question, they can post after this. You can see the talk in LinkedIn on LinkedIn and on
Mhm.
Facebook. We can they can connect after that, Professor, and we will respond to you later on. Thank you very much, sir. You spared a few moments. You can say precious your time, and you can say it's honor for me that I have you on my platform. Thank you very much.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for inviting me.